Hello, and welcome to the Church Revitalization Podcast, brought to you by the Malphurs Group team, where each week we tackle important, actionable topics to help churches thrive. And now, here's your hosts, Scott Ball and AJ Matthew.
Hey, AJ Matthew, how are you, my friend?
Doing well, Scott. Glad to be back.
Yeah, listen, this is an exciting episode for us on the Church Revitalization Podcast Live. Listen, Easter, if you didn't know, it's Sunday. Did you know that? Easter is Sunday?
Easter is this coming Sunday. That is correct.
I feel like it snuck up on us like way faster than I was prepared to handle. Do you know what I mean? Like, It wasn't going to be Easter, and then we were going to be out of quarantine by Easter, and now Easter is on us, and we're all still living this insane alternate reality. It's unbelievable. But today we're going to help you. So, Pastor, if you've got your Easter plans all set, I know it's enough just to get the service together, figuring out how we're going to go live, and I know Facebook has had issues with even with the premieres, like pre-uploading stuff that you've pre-recorded and going, showing that, premiering that. I know that there's been all those kinds of issues, and yet AJ doesn't kind of start and stop with just the streaming your services online. Like, there's a real opportunity. Hundreds of people are going to be checking out your church this Sunday. And are you ready? The question we want to answer today is, are you ready to follow up with those folks that do stream your services online?
Right.
AJ, you went live yesterday on our Facebook page, just kind of encouraging pastors to make the most of this moment. And I think this ties in really well with that. We've got to not waste this Easter opportunity and connecting with guests, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, if nothing else, let Easter be the catalyst for you to move, from where you had been, whatever that was, to your new normal, whether the new normal is temporary or not. So if you have not been focusing on trying to connect with guests and assimilate people into your church in this new virtual reality, then let this be the catalyst for you to do that. If you were doing that and maybe you hadn't figured out how to get back on track doing that, then I hope, again, for you, this will be a turning point, and you'll just take advantage of, what is typically one of the biggest Sundays for most Christian churches of the year. And we don't want you to miss this huge opportunity, and you still have a week to prepare, and I think you can do that, though.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the things that we want to really help you with today is not just think about an assimilation process or an assimilation system that's going to work for you just for Sunday, but is going to be something that works for you, as long as this COVID-19 crisis is here. And to be frank, it should work for you beyond this situation. It should be a process that works for you even past this crisis. So this is a great time to sort of update and refresh your assimilation process, your guest follow-up process, and we can't wait to help you out with that today. So that's what we're going to do. Enough introduction. AJ, I think the first thing we want to do, we kind of made a flow chart, and we'll make this available somehow. If you go to Malphurs, it's not here yet. So if you're watching this live, don't go to malphursgroup.com/34. It's not there yet, but we will get this to you at malphursgroup.com/34. But it is a PDF here that, let's see if I can work the technology and show this to you. If you're listening to this podcast later, if you're listening on the podcast, it will already be up, malphursgroup.com/34, and you can go back and check this out. But here is this system. So I always like to think in terms of systems. That's just how my brain works. I like to think through, okay, if a person does this, there's two options. They either took this action or they didn't take this action. If they take this action, what's going to happen? If they didn't take this action, what's going to happen? So don't get overwhelmed. I want to sort of walk you through this flow chart. If anybody out here is a flowchart fan like I am, put it in the comments. I want to know. I think between AJ and I'm definitely the flowchart fan. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say. I have an appreciation for a good flow chart, but making one is a bit of a mind strangler. Shout out though to diagrams.net, because I think we had a pretty cool tool here to make this. So
yeah, listen, we put this together really quickly. So, all right. So here, the first sort of action is a guest attends your worship service online, right? They're tuning into Facebook. You're either streaming live or you've uploaded your pre-recorded stuff, or maybe they're on YouTube, or maybe they're on your website. However you're streaming online service, that's the first action that they are taking. The thing you need to start asking them to do is to attend or to visit a Connect page. Set up a Connect page if you've not already done this. I know a lot of you already have, but set up some sort of a connection page on your website, yourchurch.com/connect. Some sort of a digital hub or a digital home for when a guest checks out your church. Now, I would say if you're using a service like Text in Church or whatever, where you're doing a texting thing, you could still do that, but just make sure you're still sending them to a landing page. And here's why. We want them to fill out your connection card, and we also want to invite them to a virtual meet and greet. I think one of the things that we're missing most, AJ, about church in person is that sort of after church time where you could sort of shake the pastor's hand or meet a staff person, even in larger churches. We used to do in our church, the last church where I was on staff, we did something called the 5 after. So right after the church, right after the service for 5 minutes, we would kind of get to know whoever was new, give them a free gift, and tell them a little bit about our church. Again, very quickly, 5 minutes. But we had folks there every week that showed up to that, and that's something that's missing. But we want to recreate that. So if we send them to our Connect page, we're going to not only give them that online Connect card option, but we're going to give them the option to attend a virtual meet and greet. And don't worry, we'll go through the details of this here in a little bit. We just want to give you the overview. Attend the virtual meet and greet, or they might not attend the virtual meet and greet. Let's talk real fast about what happens if they don't attend the virtual meet and greet. First, we want to figure out if they're local or not. If they're not local, then we honestly, we're glad that they're checking us out. But AJ, long term, it's not good for us if we're building these super deep relationships with not local people, correct?
Right. Yeah. No matter where they are, there's going to be a church, within drive distance of them. And so we want to help them get connected somewhere locally. I mean, that's, the whole point of this is so that people local to your church can eventually have a physical connection, with a group of believers in your church. And so we don't want to assume a whole different philosophy now for people that are not local to the church. Great that they attended online. That's super cool. But ultimately, let's help them get connected somewhere locally so that they can have all the benefits of being in community and fellowship with other believers.
For sure. So now back on this other side, if they do attend the meet and greet, and again, we're going to ask the same question: are they local or not local? If they're not local, it's the same outcome. We want to get them connected in some form or fashion with a local body to them. If they are local, then we're going to send them a thank you gift. I still love the idea of a thank you gift, and think about it. Like you might think this is nuts right now, but what are you spending on a coffee mug and, or a t-shirt? You're probably spending, wouldn't you say, AJ, at least $3 to $5 on one of those things. I mean,
yeah, sure.
All told, when you consider the print materials and everything else that goes into it, you're spending about $5. So if you can budget roughly that, send them a $5 gift card to Amazon, or send them a $5 gift card to Starbucks, where they can still drive through and get a cup of coffee. Figure out something that works for you, but $5 is not a huge investment. And the number of people who are going to hop into a virtual meet and greet are, it's going to probably not be hundreds of people anyway. So the risk is relatively minimal, especially since we're only going to send those to local folks, and let people know that up front. Say, hey, due to limited funds, we're going to send the gift to folks who are local to us, who live in our area. So you send them a thank you gift. Now, if they filled out the Connect card but didn't attend the virtual meet and greet, now everybody's caught up to the same thing. We're going to initiate our follow-up Connect sequence. So we'll talk more about that here in a little bit and what that could look like, but they're going to essentially go through a 1-week follow-up sequence here initially. that is encouraging them to attend a virtual guest lunch that will happen next week. So not this coming Sunday, Easter Sunday, but the Sunday after Easter. You want to do your virtual guest lunch. There's no reason to wait a month or to wait 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
People got nothing going on. They're supposed to be staying at home. Give them something to look forward to this coming, the Sunday after Easter, right? Yeah. So everything is pushing them towards this virtual guest lunch, which again, we'll talk more in detail about in a minute. So they'll either attend that virtual guest lunch or they won't. If they don't attend the virtual guest lunch, put them into a re-engagement sequence and have another virtual guest lunch. This one might be further out. It might be next month. And that re-engagement sequence is inviting them to that next lunch. So they will either attend that or you will just keep in touch with them. You'll just follow up with them and let them know about regular church events and all that kind of stuff. If they do attend the virtual lunch, your goal is to get them to join an online group or class. That's the end goal. So someone's assimilated, at least in the context of this follow-up process, when they join a group or a class. So after they attend the lunch, either they will join a group or a class or they won't. And if they don't join a group or a class, then you should at this point personally follow up with them. Someone on your staff or you as the pastor or someone on your team should follow up with them one-on-one and say, hey, did you want to join a class? Oops, we're missing an arrow here, AJ. And so from that personal follow-up, they'll either join a group or a class or they would get into that keep in touch category. You've done everything you can. So at this point, if someone has visited your Connect page and filled out a Connect card, you should know where someone is at in this follow-up process. You shouldn't feel like, man, we had all these people who filled out a Connect card and we don't know, they just fell off the face of the planet. No, that should not happen. By following a system like this is why you map up all of the eventual outcomes, because then you can know where someone got stuck, AJ. You can know, man, did they get stuck? They didn't attend the virtual meet and greet, and they were local, and then they went into follow-up sequence, and then they didn't attend the virtual guest lunch. Did we not put them in the re-engagement sequence? Oh no, we did. Did they not respond to that? And if 0 people who go through your re-engagement sequence end up attending your next virtual guest lunch, then maybe your re-engagement sequence is really terrible, right? Like that would help you understand there's some work that needs to be done there. So by mapping out a system, you're able to figure out where people get stuck, what needs attention, what needs to be reworked, and to know we're moving people through a process and hopefully getting to that point as many people as possible. And you're not going to get 100%, but as many people as possible to achieve that ultimate goal. So now, this basically boils down to, if you were to distill all these boxes, AJ, into 4 key checkpoints in this process. The first one is the Connect page and attending a meet and greet. Mm-hmm. The second one is going to be the follow-up sequence. The third is going to be the virtual guest lunch. And the fourth is going to be when they join a group or class. So let's go back and start talking about those things piece by piece. Let's start with talking about the virtual Connect card, the getting them plugged in on your website. What are the key points to remember here?
On the virtual Connect card and then getting well, first of all, again, you mentioned this at the top, but make sure that that's just a super easy URL, okay? yourchurch.com/connect or /guest. And this has got to be made super clear. In fact, I would address guests at the beginning and the end of your worship service. I mean, certainly welcome them and even tell them, hey, stick around to the end. Because we want to connect with you. We're going to have some information for you as a guest. And then at the end, whenever you're closing out as well, say, okay, guests, now here's what you've got to do. Go to ourchurch.com/connect. We would love to get some information about you so that we can make a step towards you. And by the way, there's a link in there because we are having in 5 minutes or at the bottom of the hour, the top of the hour, 15 minutes from now, whenever, we are going to have a super casual, just a few minutes long meet and greet If you're the pastor and you're going to be there, say, I just want to be able to put, a face. I want to, be able to say hi. And, however you might normally do that. This is your lobby space or your connect booth that on any other normal Sunday, hopefully, you would have been inviting guests to connect with you or another staff member, another pastor, or some team member. So, again, if this is totally outside of anything that you already have in place, great. Start here, start virtual, go, real life later whenever we can. But there we go, Scott. So
I've got a
URL
sample,
and then connect.
Yeah, so I got a sample web page I made in like 2 minutes. So there might be more to it for your church than what I've got here. But it's really, really easy. Just throw up a header at the top, say, welcome home. Thank you for joining us for Easter services online. Click to join our virtual connection point meeting via Zoom. And don't forget to fill out the Connect card below so we can send you a free gift. Again, we're doing the free gift really for local folks. That's why we want to be sure we have the address in here. But this doesn't link to anything right now. But essentially, you would click this button, and it would take you into a Zoom meeting. And if you're worried about it, set up that you can disable participant video, or certainly make sure that only a host can share their screen. If you take a couple of these little precautions, then you can be sure you don't get Zoom bombed. I just want to tell you, I know that a lot of people are very worried about it, and I'm not saying that the Zoom bombing thing isn't happening. It's happening, but the incidences of this are very low, and there are some very few steps I think that you can take to protect yourself from that happening at your church. But I think that the benefits of recreating this virtual meeting space far outweigh any risks that you might have of Zoom bombing, because I believe that those risks are very, very, very low. And
employ some of the same common sense things that we've been told as computer users for decades anyway. I mean, don't open, if you get an email that says it's from, your cousin in Nigeria with $1 million, don't fill out that form.
Right.
I mean, just don't click on weird things that don't make any sense. That's going to protect you 99.9% of the time on any of this silly Zoom stuff going on.
100%. So I would say keep it simple. Like, resist the urge to put, here's 18 things happening at our church, or let me tell you about our kids ministry. Like, keep the options very limited. Invite them to join this connection point meeting, or whatever you want to call it, virtual meet and greet, and ask them to fill out a Connect card. That's it. Okay? So keep it very, very simple. AJ, let's talk about, real fast. Keith asks, is there going to be an online document? Yes. So we'll put that flowchart online this week so that you can download it. AJ, let's talk about the gift idea. What could we do? So let's think through a couple of options. I mentioned some earlier, but what are some options?
Yeah, really.
Since we're not giving them coffee mug, yeah.
Yeah, the gift card is the super easy and low cost option that you can do. There's a lot of things out there that you can do for $5. If you have a bigger budget than that, great, that'd be awesome. But you can do $5 Amazon card, you can do $5 Starbucks card, and these are things that you can do in a virtual environment. You can send somebody a online redemption code for one of these cards. But so the fun stuff, the coffee, the food, the Amazon, which is definitely kind of universal. Other ideas, Scott, that you have, but something easy.
Yeah, just keep it simple, but again, don't be afraid to invest. Don't be afraid to invest $5 a person or whatever into this thing. It'd be worth it. Tracy asked the question, a good question. The online Connect card would be for guests only, correct? The congregation watching will want to fill it out. That's a great question. Yeah, these are for guests. These are for guests primarily. Certainly, if some of your folks wanted to hop into the meet and greet, I guess that would be. It would make the room more full, the Zoom room, but certainly you're not going to be sending gift cards to people who you're already connected with. They're primarily for guests. Let's talk about that follow-up sequence. So once someone fills out a Connect card and we put them into our follow-up sequence, I really recommend, we're not partners with Texan Church. We're not affiliates for Tyler and Texan Church, but they have a great system. So if you want to sign up for Texan Church and use their templates for things, that would be awesome. That would make this even easier for you if you were to use a system like that. But we want to give you just some really key points. You don't have to pay for anything. You can, just do it the good old-fashioned way if you wanted to. But here are 4 things. If you think it, the 1-1-1-1 sequence. So in the span of that week, you should do 4 things, each one time. So 1-1-1-1. Send 1 email, 1 text, 1 phone call, and 1 handwritten note. 1 email, 1 text, 1 phone call, 1 handwritten note. And all 4 of these points of communication are pointing them towards and asking them to, the call to action is to RSVP for the virtual newcomer lunch, newcomer lunch, which you would hopefully do a week from Easter next Sunday. So an email, a text, a phone call, and a handwritten note. Let's talk about each of these 4 forms of communication just very briefly. What should the email look like, AJ? Should we load it with lots of other information? Should we keep it short? What should we do?
Keep it short. Yeah, there's no need to overload them with everything you've got going on for the next 6 months, or 3 paragraphs of how awful COVID-19 is and how much you care about them. Definitely let them know that you care. That's why you're sending it. But yeah, keep it simple. I mean, hey, we are so excited that you were with us on Sunday. We really want to be able to take a greater step towards you, help you to know more about our church. And we have got a guest lunch happening on Sunday that we would love to have you attend. Here's a link to the form for you to RSVP for that, and we will have a spot for you. So yeah, it should be a 30-second read.
The text, and maybe I should have rearranged these, but the text should probably come first. Send that after your virtual meet and greet time, or even if they didn't attend the virtual meet and greet time, send that on Sunday after church on Easter. Say, hey, thanks so much for attending our Easter service. Want to let you know about our free guest lunch happening next week. If you want the details, here's a link. Send them a link, and on that page you can give more details about how to RSVP and what's going to be happening in that. Obviously, a text should be really short. Let's talk about a phone call, AJ. So, does the pastor have to make all these phone calls?
He does not. He or she does not. This would be a great way to split up, 4 things across 4 different people. If you're the pastor and you want to do this and you have the bandwidth for this, then great. That would be cool. It does not have to be you. But this phone call also should be very short. And it would be more of like, hey, I hope you got our text, or I hope you got the email, and just wanted to, since we hadn't had you sign up yet, so this would probably be later in the week. Haven't seen you sign up yet. Just wanted to make sure you saw those communications come through. We would love to have you. But that's also a great opportunity, though. I mean, while you're on the phone with somebody, you don't just want to be like, okay, thanks, bye. Hey, how are you doing, though? Right. Can I pray for you right now? Is there anything specific? Do you have anybody personally affected by this in your family that we could pray for? So definitely, I would take that next one little opportunity, though, for a little bit of a personal connection. You don't need to be on the phone for an hour. Let them go. Right. But great opportunity, though, just to say, hey, we do care about what's going on with you right now, and we'll pray for you right now, too. And
recognize, listen, people are, if they're like me, they screen their calls, right? Odds are they're going to not answer. So you might be your phone call to them might end up just being a voicemail message.
Probably so.
So kind of have an idea of what you're going to say. You don't have to stick to a script, but you don't want to be like, hey, Jenny, just wanted to leave you a message, and kind of know what you're going to say and have a point. Make sure that your URL, because you could mention, hey, we've got this virtual newcomer lunch happening, guest lunch happening next Sunday, and we would love for you to attend. If you want to learn more about that, just go to ourchurch.com/RSVP. Keep that URL really short. Something
Also
very
very
simple
short.
that you could say it over the phone. If it's /newcomer-lunch-RSVP- after Easter, like they're not going to do it. And leave a callback number and say, hey, I know you might be screening your phone calls because you don't know who this is, but listen, I'm from, such and such church. And if you'd love someone to pray for you, here's my phone number. Call me back at, 555-5555. Whatever it is. So, handwritten note. Let's talk about that, AJ. So I'm an extrovert and I like to push the bounds, AJ, of what is an essential shopping trip. Yeah. So I'd be like, great. Scott said that I can head to Walmart and pick up some postcards and some stamps. But you don't have to do that, do you? You
do not. I checked on Amazon earlier, and on Prime delivery before this weekend, you can get yourself a tidy little pack of very nice thank you cards. So you can go online right now and order those and be ready so that next week you can be writing those out and sending them off. So
yeah,
yes.
If you like to live life on the edge like me, head on out to Walmart and pick up a pack of postcards so that you can handwrite them. And you might need stamps. I don't think you can order stamps. Just saying, on Amazon. You might actually be able to do that. I don't know. I haven't. Or you can live life on the edge and go to the post office and pick up some stamps.
You can probably get a free mail scale because that's the promotion they're always running, and $50 worth of free postage. Not a sponsor. And the official recommendation by TMG is to follow CDC guidelines.
100%. Scott Ball's personal recommendation is
local authorities as to what you can do and what you cannot do.
Sure, whatever. Live life on the edge, baby. Head to Walmart. Wear a mask. At any rate, send a handwritten postcard. You cannot underestimate how valuable this is, especially for the kids. So if you were to include the kids in the handwritten postcard, or send an extra one just to the kids, or only send it to the kids, you still want to invite them in that postcard to attend the newcomer lunch, or the guest lunch, virtual lunch. But something handwritten. I like a postcard. Don't do a long letter. Don't do a form letter. I still see churches do that. They just print off a form letter and then they hand sign it. I'm not talking about a hand signed letter. I'm talking about a handwritten postcard that's 2 or 3 sentences long. And again, doesn't have to be the pastor. It doesn't matter. So a reason why churches do the form letter is because it's from the pastor. People don't care if it's from the pastor. They care that it was handwritten. So it can be anybody. It could be a volunteer with a good handwriting. It can be the pastor. It can be the associate pastor. It can be the youth pastor. It could be a children's pastor. It could be the secretary. It doesn't matter who it is. Anybody can do this.
Yep. And just to also mention, in case people didn't catch that on your sample form that you had, your Connect card form, there was a place to write down kids' names and birthdays. Because later you could even send them a little birthday card. Or any other connection like that, or at least by having the birthday, you would know what their ages are and what area they would fit in your church, especially if you're doing maybe some kids programming. You could say, hey, and by the way, have little Sally, join us on the iPad there at 10:15. So good to get that information. But then in your handwritten card, you can say, hey, and address everybody by name.
Yeah. So not only that, but also just sort of a sneaky admin thing. If you get the kids' names and birth dates, you can go ahead and put them into your back end system so that when church is back on in person, they're already entered in. So that when they come and check in at your church, they don't have to go through a whole spiel, like they're already entered into your system. So saving them some time on the back end.
So here's I just noticed online, Josh just said that they had a first-time viewer at their church. So they were doing this. They were following up with people. And so they made a phone call apparently to talk to this person who had attended their worship service.
Yeah,
and that person
I just added his comment here live.
To call the neighbor and the parents. So there you go. People are really anxious for connection. I think you'll do well with this.
Absolutely. Honestly, this is going to sound... we can just say things, right?
We're all family here.
Here's the thing. put in effort. The difference between churches that do well and don't do well, this is true across the board, COVID-19 or not. The churches that go the extra step end up benefiting from that. So if you take the time to set this stuff up for your church, you're going to benefit from it. That's just a fact. All right, let's talk about the virtual guest lunch. I think this is a fantastic idea. AJ, I'm sure someone else in the world has had this idea. So someone else has had this idea. I'm sure you're not the only person to have had this idea, but the first I heard it came from your mouth, AJ, and doing a virtual guest lunch with a call-in pizza delivery. So this is why you need an RSVP. And again, you're going to be spending some money on this. Like, this is not going to be cheap for your church. But I think it's a good investment of funds. If
you were doing a pretty cool guest lunch to begin with, you're already catering food in. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of churches that do that. And right. I mean, they're not buying cheap stuff. So, I mean, this is a budget item for sure.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be pizza. In fact, pretty much every restaurant in town is delivering, and a lot of them for free right now. So it doesn't have to be pizza, but let's have a guest lunch together separately.
Yeah, I love this idea of, hey, we're going to call in a pizza for you, have it delivered. Pizza is at least really pretty, you can afford to feed several people in a house with a pizza. And you want to keep this event, though, 30 minutes or less. You don't want to be like, hey, let's have pizza for an hour and it just drone on. You'll do this via Zoom as well, is where you will host it and have everybody call in, and it'd be fun to have the kids running around and it'd be just totally messy and all of that. Like, that's real life and that's cool. So run it basically like you would a small group through Zoom. Have everybody kind of call in and they're eating their pizza. And the focus of this is two-pronged. One, cast vision for your church. Let them know, hey, this is what we're about. This is what we care about. We care about you, and this is where we're going. And hopefully you have a vision for your church, but this would be your place to showcase that vision. And then the call to action here is to join a group. And you need to cast the vision not only for the church, but for them and for their life. And,
right.
And why joining a group would be especially valuable. So in this guest lunch, we're feeding them with a free pizza, we're casting vision, and we're asking them to join a group. Anything else you want to say about this event, AJ?
Well, I mean, this is going to be something that there is going to be super memorable. I mean, nobody is going to be expecting this of you right now. Right. So, I think this is going to be a really awesome opportunity for you to really make an impression on people, and just make sure that you're honest. You put your best foot forward with this. But, as Scott is saying, casting the vision for your church, I mean, kind of maybe a temporary vision right now during this crisis, but also still your longer term vision of really what you're all about. And then really talking about the benefits of them making this connection step and getting involved in something, even though we're in, virtual space right now. If this is new to you, we call this discipleship pathway. And this is going to be in what would probably be step 2 of a discipleship pathway. They're in your worship service. That's step 1. They're getting fed that way. Making a connection with other believers in your church is step 2 of this discipleship pathway. And it's just super important. And this is a great opportunity for you to, even in this crazy situation that we're in, to make that happen. And I think you'll see huge benefits from this, and the people will see huge benefits in their own lives from it. So don't underestimate the power of this step and the opportunity that it has to really be a game changer in, the life of a family or an individual. So I would seriously consider doing this.
Absolutely. Now, the final step here is going to be having them join a group or a class, and we just want to give you a couple options. Customize this however you want. The first would be to invite folks to join just an existing group. So you might have, existing groups that are open and they can just join those. That'd be the easiest thing, but it might also be the one you get the least amount of engagement from, because it's scary to join an existing group of people that is full of strangers that you don't know, right? Like, that is nerve-wracking to say, oh, yeah, I'll join Sally's group on Zoom this week. who I don't know, and they're in the middle of a study or whatever. So it's easy to facilitate that, but you might get very limited engagement. The next step up from that would be to start special or short-term groups that are highly focused. They're short, like maybe 4 weeks long. You know that we're all going to be in this probably for at least the next 4 weeks. And so they got nowhere to go. AJ, what are some examples of some special classes that you might set up?
Yeah, so special class or group. I mean, really, you could even just do like a newcomers group and just like, and that would, maybe that's a little less intimidating. Say, hey, everybody is new to this. Nobody knows each other, but we have a really great leader leading this. And you guys can just get to know each other a little bit. And we're going to talk about, the message from Sunday, and we can answer questions about that. So that's one option. But if you want to look at maybe some class options, gosh, wouldn't it be awesome if you've got, maybe even if you had like a counselor in your church, psychologist, or somebody that could do maybe a managing anxiety group, something else that would really speak to people's, present situation and their emotional reality right now. So that's an option. Bible 101, I mean, we don't need to assume that guests to your church know anything about Christianity or the Bible. Right. So, and having a menu of these things maybe just to meet people in where they're at in different places, that would be probably ideal. I know you've got limited resources, and depending on the size of your church or staff, you can't just make everything available. But do what you can, do what you can so that you can maybe just hit on something that'll really connect with somebody and draw them in.
Yeah, if you have an idea, drop it in the comments.
I'd love to.
We'd love to hear your ideas, but anything that my thought process on this, AJ, is that you have to bring value that is high enough or great enough for people to overcome their fear of hopping into a group of strangers.
Right.
So what value are you going to bring that's going to help them overcome that fear of, I don't know anybody? You did that by doing the virtual lunch. Like, hey, I got this free pizza, right? Like, so I'm hopping into that. So I love a thing on anxiety or how to pray. 4 weeks on how to pray. People, there's proven studies, even if you're not a believer, on the value of like meditation. But we know that meditation has, this much value, and prayer has a million times greater value because you're actually connecting with the God of the universe and not just, meditating in your own space. Another idea is to connect people then into your growth track or whatever your membership class is. So instead of saying, hey, sign up for this group or class, let's get you connected into growth track, which is going to then indoctrinate people further into what your church is like and all of that. So those would be your three options, sort of plugging people into an existing group, getting them plugged into sort of a special short-term group or class, or getting them plugged into growth track. But there needs to be a goal. Don't just have this virtual guest lunch just to get people into a guest lunch. Like, have a next step. Always have a next step for them. To wrap this up, AJ, for folks who hopped on late, I just want to give can we just close with a very brief overview again of how this thing works?
Maybe put the...
Just lost AJ. All right.
On the fly.
Yes. Sorry, AJ, we lost you for a second, or I did.
Am I back?
You're back. All right. So just very, very briefly, it essentially breaks down into 4 sections if you hopped on late. Number 1, and if you're listening to the recording, this is just a recap for you. The first sort of overall step is having them visit a Connect page on your website with a Connect card, a digital Connect card that also has the ability for a virtual meet and greet time. For those that attend the meet and greet, they get access to a gift. That's sort of the incentive for attending the meet and greet. But if they fill out a card, even if they don't attend the meet and greet, they go into a follow-up sequence. So that's the section 2. Section 2 is that follow-up sequence. And the goal of that follow-up sequence is to get them to section 3, which is the attending a virtual guest lunch. And they either will or won't do that. And for the folks that do attend, we're trying to get them into section 4, the last step, which is to get them into an online group or class. If they don't attend, Our goal is still always re-engagement so that we can hopefully get them to attend a lunch and get into a group or class. But at the end of the day, the folks that don't do anything, we still want to keep in touch with them because you never know. It might not be the moment. The moment might come later when they reconnect with your church and get plugged into the life of your church. But at least you will have tried. Like, you will know. We took them through our whole arsenal of what we could to follow up with them and gave it our best shot. And not 100% of people are going to end up getting connected to your church or getting plugged into a group or class. But the one thing they won't be able to say is that you didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you gave it everything you possibly could. And I think that's all we could ask for. So, AJ, any closing thoughts from you?
Well, let's see. Let's walk through availability of this episode and the tools. Podcast will go live when, Scott? Tomorrow or Wednesday? Today's Monday.
Listen, the thing is that, Easter is on Sunday. So typically we're trying to get this up by Wednesday, but let's make every effort, I think, AJ, to try to get this up by tomorrow.
Yeah,
just ASAP, because I think
and
this
you'll
is
be able to then
access
access the podcast show notes at malfersgroup.com/34, just the number 34. And if you are maybe watching this live or recorded from Facebook and you're not on our mailing list and would like to be able to be pre-notified about things like us doing the live broadcast, or to receive an email after things go up and the tools are available, just email us. Probably easiest, just email us, leadership@malfersgroup.com, and we will get you added to our mailing list so that you're getting our content as it comes out weekly. And we are certainly doing our best to bring you content that's helpful right now and all the time. So, anything else, Scott, that we need? Any other housekeeping?
No. So if you're listening to this, if you're listening to the podcast, you'll already be able to go to malfersgroup.com/34, get access to that PDF that's got the system, customize it. We put this together pretty quickly, so there may be things that we missed, or you might have ideas on how you want to iterate, or you might already have a follow-up system and you just want to adapt yours to this current situation. Fantastic. This is intended to be a done-for-you starter set that you can customize. That's what we wanted to put together for you today, and we hope that it was valuable. Listen, we love you. We're with you in this. We're praying for you, and if you need anything at all, please let us know. leadership@malfersgroup.com. We'd love to connect with you. Thanks so much. Have an awesome rest of your week, and happy Easter.
Bye.